In the last video, we got a quick demonstration of how routing works with Next.js. So we place different files into the pages directory and poof, we're all of a sudden able to visit those inside the browser. Now that we have a better idea of how navigation works, let's start working on our first real page of our application. The first page that I want to work on is going to be the one that shows a list of all of our open campaigns to our users. So whenever a user comes here, they should see all these different campaigns listed down the screen. A user should see this page whenever they visit the root route of our application. So if they went to crowdcoin.com, yeah, we want to show this to them right here. Now notice the URL up here does not seem to have any named route attached to it. However, in the last video, we were just saying that the name of these components inside the pages directory will be used as the actual route. So how do we make a page that gets displayed at the root route of our application, where there is no little name on here that we can visit? Well, to do so, we can go back over to our code editor and we can rename one of these existing components to be index.js. With a file name of index, Next is going to assume that if someone ever visits the root route of our application, like crowdcoin.com, it will automatically show the index.js file. So let's take one of our two components here, or one of our two pages, and we're going to rename it to be index.js, and then we'll test that out inside the browser to make sure that it is displayed as the root page. So I'm going to take new campaign, I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to change it to index.js. Again, this is a special file name. If we have any component named index.js inside the pages directory, it will be used as our root route. Inside of index.js, I'm going to update the text in this thing to say this is the campaign list page, because that's essentially what we eventually want it to be. I'll then save this file. I'm going to make sure that my Next server is still running inside the terminal. And remember, if you ever stop it, you can start it back up again by running the npm run dev command. Now back inside the browser, I should be able to open up a new tab and navigate directly to localhost :3000. And then after a short pause, we'll see the "This is a new campaign list" page appear on the screen. Cool, so that's how we get some root route or some root component to appear inside of our application. Now eventually we want this thing to show a list of all of our different campaigns, right? That's going to be a somewhat involved process. So I took the liberty of putting together some steps that we're going to go through to eventually get a list of campaigns to appear on the screen. So here's the list of steps that I think you and I need to do. All right, so as you can see, we've got a little bit of a work ahead of us here. So the first thing we need to do inside of our application to enable us to get a list of all of our campaigns is to import and configure Web3. Remember, anytime we want to access some data from the Ethereum world, we need to make use of Web3 and we need to set up a provider with it. Recall that the provider is what Web3 uses to communicate with some external Ethereum network. In the short term, we are going to rely upon the provider that we get automatically from MetaMask. And remember, MetaMask automatically injects a provider into the page whenever it runs. After we set up Web3, we'll then tell Web3 that we have already deployed a copy of the Campaign Factory contract. Remember, we did that like 4 or 5 videos ago. So we're going to tell Web3 exactly what a Campaign Factory contract looks like. In other words, we're going to give it our Campaign Factory interface, and then we will also give it the address of the instance that we have already deployed. That will return to us a contract instance that we can then manipulate or access from inside of our application. So after we set all that stuff up, we can then use that factory instance to retrieve a list of all the different campaigns that we have deployed over time. At present, we have not used that factory to deploy any campaigns whatsoever. So the first time we try to get a list from this thing, we might get back an empty list. But there's a very easy way that we can pretty quickly create a new campaign instance, and we'll take advantage of that at that time so we can get some early content on the screen without having to create the form that is going to eventually make new campaigns for us. After we get that list of deployed campaigns from the factory instance, we can then use React inside of our application to show some information about each campaign. So specifically, show this list right here. Show the list of open campaigns to our users. All right, so that's pretty much it. Those are the steps that are ahead of us. It's definitely a good amount of work. So let's take a pause here and we'll get started with configuring Web3 in the next video.